Hey everyone, my name is Danilo Petrovic.
I'm Ilya Marchenko.
I'm Denis Kudla.
I'm Evgeny Donskoy.
I'm Henry Laaksonen.
I'm Peter Torebko, and you're listening to the Game to Love podcast.
Hey, welcome back, tennis fans. Here we are, and it is the big news. It has just come out. Roger Federer has withdrawn from Roland Garros 2021, and he will not be playing his match against Matteo Berrettini in the fourth round. Big news, JG, but after such an epic matchup against Dominic Koepfer that went over 3.5 hours last night, the question is, are you surprised about this news?
I don't think I'm surprised. No, I'm just sad. The first feeling was sadness. The news broke to us on the last stream. It was me and John watching Tsitsipas, and the first thing I felt was just utter sadness. I thought It was really nice seeing him back on court. I just loved him this whole tournament. I thought he was playing pretty well against Cilic, especially hitting so many aces. He wasn't that great the other day. He did okay against Koepfer, and there were some moments of pure beauty and uniqueness only to him, especially that one round the post, some nice little drop shots and stuff.
Yeah.
But Koepfer had him kind of thing. He was a better player and a little bit unlucky not to have won that match. But yeah, the sadness is the big thing for me. I was really hoping to see more of Federer. And now I hate to say it as well because I'm a big fan of him. He's going to be massively open to criticism. I had a little look on Twitter just now, and a lot of people are ripping into him. And I kind of understand their point of view for a lot of it because it's like what John was saying as well. He's used Roland Garros as a bit of a training session for Wimbledon. He's not really respected the tournament very much at all. And you've got to pose the question, if this was someone else who isn't Roger Federer and they were to do the same thing, would people be as nice about it and accepting?
Well, probably not. It's one of those things, isn't it? People want to see Federer create greatness once more on any court, on the Grand Slam stage. He has got his eyes set on Wimbledon. He keeps on referencing, see you on the grass courts. Me, for one, I know that people don't want it as a warm-up tournament, but did people have Federer really going far in the French Open? For me,
that's not the point, though, Ben. It's not about him going far. It's about giving it your best shot and playing until you go out, because that's respecting the tournament and respecting the fellow opposition. There's no point going into a tournament, like what John said, I'm going to echo that again, going into a tournament with the feeling in your mind that you're never, ever going to complete it. And to be fair, he has been saying that a lot. I was just turning the blind eye to it. I was being I must admit, maybe a bit naive to the fact. And it's like when something you don't want to happen, you just pretend that you can't hear the noise coming from it all the time. So I was ignoring it. I was turning my back on all the comments. But it kind of was rung true because he didn't expect himself to do very much this year. It's not a tournament he's historically done very well at. And he's used it as a training session. Let's say they can't put it any nicer way. He's used it as a warm-up event for Wimbledon, which is his main priority.
Well, he's not been shy on talking out to media, talking out to officials. He's been very clear in his stance by coming into this tournament and being vocal. If anything was going to be said, bring it up earlier, like with him, and say, if you're not intending to play this whole tournament, then maybe you shouldn't play the whole thing. Maybe you shouldn't even start the tournament. They could have had the conversation with him earlier. I'm sure they speak to Roger Federer very, very well. I'm sure it's a very close relationship they have with all the big players like a Djokovic, Nadal and Federer, because this is the revenue numbers you're getting for your tournament. That's what's drawing in all the money. They would have spoken to him and they would have been happy that he would even be there for 4 rounds, I would say, or even 3 rounds. That would have probably got more money for that tournament, more exposure than probably 500 other players on the tour playing. But that's because he's Roger Federer. But is he what he did right? I don't think it's right. I feel sad for Dominic Koepfer because he played a great 4 sets of tennis, so close to beating Federer.
I do as well. I know a lot of people disagreed with me on the last stream we did, saying it's Koepfer lost. It's his problem. But there's a little part of me that feels sorry for him because Federer's not really respected this event. Let's be honest, he hasn't. And we got John there saying, do you think there could be a goodbye? Is this like his way of saying goodbye to Roland Garros?
Possible, yeah. I don't think he's ever going to compete, competitively at Roland Garros for the title ever again. I think there's no one really who thinks that that's the case. Even if it had got through, people had him losing to Berrettini potentially. The clay's getting quicker, and Berrettini is a big hitter and a big server. And then you've got Rafa and Djokovic potentially after that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you try to get through one, look at he struggled against Koepfer in the most part. So I just don't think it's wise.
Yeah, should we get the statement up and have a little look
at it?
Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
I know you've got it there on the screen. I don't know if you want to read it off, or if not, I can. I'll put my glasses on.
Sure, mate. It was on the Roland Garros website. It's a press release from them. Roger Federer withdraws.
He's also tweeted the same words as well on his own personal account, just for the record.
Exactly. So the Roland Garros tournament organizers have learned that Roger Federer has withdrawn from the 4th round of the tournament. After discussions with my team, this is what he is saying. I've decided I will need to pull out of Roland Garros today. After 2 knee surgeries and over a year of rehabilitation, it's important that I listen to my body and make sure I don't push myself too quickly on my road to recovery. I'm thrilled to have gotten 3 matches under my belt. There is no greater feeling than being back on court. So that was said by Roger Federer.
Well, mate, the word just before you go on to the next bit, the first thing I think of, there's no greater feeling than being back on court. Then why are you leaving the court then?
Mate, he's just said he's on the road to recovery.
But it's not. It is, mate. It's hard because I'm going to be biased because I like Roger Federer. But if I'm not being biased, you've got to call him out. If this was someone I didn't like specifically, and another big name who I'm not that keen on, then I'd be ripping into him. So I've got to be fair here and view this impartially. And I don't think it's on personally. He's used this as a warm-up event. He's not really respected it at all. And the worst thing for me, the most damning part of it, is he's not actually injured or anything. There's not an injury. Which is I'm not saying it's not a bad thing because he's not injured. Obviously, it's great that he's fit and healthy, but it's not the fact that he's feeling a niggle or he's feeling any injury and he's worried about that. He's only doing it as an excuse kind of thing. That's the vibe I'm getting. Otherwise, it'd be a bit more harder on the injury. There'd be a bit more there saying, I'm feeling a little bit of pain in my knee or anything like that. He's not made any sign about that. He's having no issues with that. It's purely the only decision he's pulled out is because of Wimbledon next few weeks.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, he only has so many Grand Slams left in him. There's only so many tournaments before Wimbledon starts. He's only just come back from injury. If he doesn't play as many tournaments as he can, he's never going to be ready for Wimbledon. And
mate, what I want to ask you quickly with this statement is, do you think this statement was prepared before before French Open even started?
I see where you're going with that. A little bit conspiracy thing. I mean, it's possible. It is possible because
it's not conspiracy because it's not. There doesn't seem to be anything new. What's happened here from him?
I don't think so. Though
there's nothing's happened from him where he's feeling a pain or he's fallen over or he's having a problem. He's had a medical timeout or
he spoke about it though.
There's nothing new's changed. The fact is, he's pulled out because he got to this stage. He did a week. This was his game. He's going to see how many matches he can win in this week. And then ultimately, if he went out before, it's not a problem because he's out. And if he got to the end and won them all, he'll pull out anyway.
Well, exactly.
So it's like this. This was just a statement that was always there.
It could well have been. We don't know what the statement would have been. It might have been. He might have felt. It's when he might have felt a certain way. That was when the statement would be released. It might have been before after the last match, not the Koepfer match, when he might have been pushed to 4 sets or 5 sets in the Cilic match. And then he might have said, actually, I've had enough now, and I'm just going to focus on the next tournament. It could have been like that, but you don't know. He knows.
I agree with this, though, from Audible here, saying he can't say he's on the road to recovery from knee surgery and then enter a grass court tournament next week.
It's not on that. That's
what makes me think the statement doesn't really make sense.
Well, it's only he knows his body, and I think that's the only.
That's what I was saying a lot on the last stream.
He's not a clay court player, and it's the most demanding surface probably against his body. So maybe he's just looking ahead, and he thinks, if I play against Berrettini, bear in mind Roger Federer's never pulled out of a match during the match. Do we want to see Roger Federer pull out of a match all of a sudden? Because he probably would have done. He probably would have retired during the match against Berrettini. Was that better or is that worse? Which one you go with?
Well, it's fair game. If you have to do it, it doesn't really. I know it's a stat, mate. I feel like we've switched roles because these are some of the points I was making earlier on the other stream, and I understand what you're saying. And he knows his body better than anyone else. And at the end of the day, if this is what he had in mind, that is what it is. But you've got to call it as what it is, and it's a bit disrespectful. It's a bit self-serving. That's probably a good use of it. It's self-serving. Yeah. This is Roger Federer trying to fit and suit Roger Federer. He's not really thinking about fans. He's not thinking about the tournament. He's not thinking about the other competitors in this event who have already gone out. He's not thinking about the qualifiers. He's not thinking about the qualifiers who went out. He's not thinking about anything else but himself.
Yeah, exactly. And his Grand Slam record.
Some people can say that's great. Because at the end of the day, if everyone focuses on their self, you'll be all right in the world. I don't think that's a nice look for the sport, personally. I don't think people are going to look at this fondly. I think people are going to turn on Federer. You're going to see a lot of backlash to this. You're going to have people sort of calling for him to retire, saying his time's up. If he can't compete, why is he still playing? Well, there's going to be a lot of backlash. And I, for one, I'm not saying any of that, just to clarify. I still want to see Roger Federer playing. I think it was a remarkable the other day. And I also think it inspired me a lot. Seeing someone at his age coming through what he's been through and still playing tennis into the early hours as well. Almost 1 a.m. it was there in France. I think it maybe reached 1 a.m. I don't even know. He was still playing and he still found the way to win when he was second best on the court. So for that, hats off, mate. Incredible. I'm just very, very sad that it's ended in this way. It's like a preconceived, it's a pre-made statement for me, which is always there. And he's going to go play Wimbledon. Let's see how he gets on with that. I'll still be cheering him on. I still want him to do very well.
Yeah, mate.
But it's not a good look for the sport. It really isn't, because he's now become, it's like in a football club. I'm going to bring it back to football. And when a player becomes too big for a club, they have to sell him. And if they can't sell him because he refuses to think, you have to put him in the reserves. And it happens all the time. You see players, they stay there too much, they're getting paid too much money, and they become too big for the club. And it becomes very toxic. He seems a little bit right now, a bit too big for tennis. He's bigger than tennis. And ultimately, everything's on his own regime. And if he wants to pull out from somewhere, he pull out. If he wants to enter, it's just a bit.
It's up to any player if they want to. If any player can pull out if they really want to. There's no pressure. They don't have to be forced to play tournaments. Like if Medvedev said, "I don't want to play Roland Garros right this second," he could just pull out as well. So could Djokovic. He'd be like, "I'll focus on Wimbledon as well." He can pull out if he really wants. If he wants to focus on it, they're not going to do that. Obviously, they have more years left in the tank. Roger Federer was probably, you could see it in another light. Maybe Roger Federer has graced all of the people at Roland Garros with his presence here this week and shown them something. He's been the biggest viewed matches of all week. Roger Federer being back at Roland Garros and his return. So
it's been class, though. I've loved it. It's been amazing. Yeah. Some of the matches, I've never been as inspired as I have watching Roger Federer. I've watched Nadal a lot recently.
I think
he's
been
great. I watched Djokovic. He's been great. I've watched some young players like Sinner, Musetti, Alcaraz, all of them. It's been amazing. But no one has inspired me these last few months as Roger Federer to go out and play tennis again. I play all the time, but I'm trying some of his shots and think it's something special about him. He certainly has an aura. And you can't deny his talent. It's unbelievable. It's just a bit sad that he feels that he's able to do something like this and give fake reasons, I believe, because ultimately he should have. I would have respected him a lot more if he come out and said, "I'm going to pull out of this event because I don't think I'm going to win it, and I'm saving myself for Wimbledon."
Well,
I think that should have been the statement.
That is the statement, essentially.
No, he's not said that though, mate.
Read between the lines, though. That's what the statement is.
I want to see it more like that. I don't see this wishy-washy.
They're never going to come out with that, though, are they?
But why not? Why can't you be honest in the world? I hate all this.
That's just not the way it is. He hasn't probably even written the statement. It's
all a bit wishy-washy, man. That's what I'm saying. This statement was always the plan from the start. We've got John Silk saying, put Federer in the reserves, make him play Junior Wimbledon.
That's not fair on
reckon he would win?
Yes, for sure.
And then we've got Jared. They're making a good point. If Federer wins Wimbledon, all of this will be forgotten, maybe even praised.
Well, that's no given. Is this the one that he has the best chance of? Djokovic will certainly have a word about that. That's for sure. There's no given.
He has got a point in terms of everyone will forget all of this controversy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everyone's so short-minded, it's unbelievable,
People want to
including
see one more
myself.
slam.
I can be a bit upset now and disheartened. I think a lot of this is probably sadness talking, if I'm honest, because I wanted to see him play. But if he is to go play Wimbledon next week, and he does quite well, everything's going to be forgotten. It'll be the GOAT Roger Federer yet again. Everyone cheering for him and loving him and saying, everyone, and then everyone brings up the French Open. They'll be like, oh, forget it. It doesn't really matter. We're all short-minded like that for sure.
Well, for me,
but not everyone. I think there will be. There's going to be a lot of people. I guarantee you, who will never forget this. They'll never ever forget it.
Who cares? I mean, he's at the end of his career. This is potentially, he's nearly 40. You're not going to see him in many more Grand Slams. I think he's within his right. If he wants to pull out of a tournament, he's given enough to tennis in his career for enough, about 20 lifetimes. So I think you can forgive him one pulling out of a tournament to try and squeeze in one potential more Grand Slam win. This guy has revolutionized the whole entire sport. He's made tennis what it is today. So if you're going to say, oh, come on, you can't pull out, when he's just given this tournament probably more life than it would have had originally this year. So there's not been fans there, but there's been Roger Federer there. And because there's been Roger Federer there has been more eyes on the tournament. And now there's even more people talking about the tournament. So Roger Federer, he's not going to be around forever. I know it's a bad decision, but I want to see him win another slam. If he can win Wimbledon with this decision, I say go for it. And I'm backing his decision to pull out. I think Berrettini...
Would you have said the same thing if this was another player? If this wasn't Roger Federer...
It's their decision,
okay,
mate.
but if this wasn't Roger Federer, would you have the same
How old are they,
opinion?
It depends. How old is the player?
Okay, so if there was someone of his age, you'd have the same stance on it.
Yeah, if they're the same age. Yeah, fair enough, mate. You saw... No one was happy when the Williams sisters, and I always bring that up, when they pick and chose which tournaments they wanted to play. They didn't play any tennis around the year, and then they started just playing the slams. Then suddenly there was some people who didn't mind it. Other people had the complete arse with it. But that's their decision at the end of the day. They could still win slams and not play tennis the whole year. But that was their decision. But they still, no one thinks about that now. Now Serena's 23-time Grand Slam champion. No one brings that back up again. But that's how they were doing it. They were picking and choosing.
I think we're doing a good justice for this debate because neither of us are that strong on either side. I know people are probably saying I'm being a bit harsh with him and stuff. I'm just trying to provide both sides of it. And I do understand what you're saying. I think you understand what I'm saying as well. And it is a tough one. The problem is what could happen now is someone who's such an icon of the sport has set the precedent for things like now. So you're going to have, say, I don't know, look, John set a good example here. So Cincinnati coming up, it's like a warm-up event to the US Open. Are we going to see players get to the quarter and semi-finals of a historic event like a Cincinnati and think, you know what, I've got this stuff, I'm going to pull out of the US Open? What,
you already named it. Naomi Osaka, you already named it. She pulls out of these tournaments and goes in and wins Grand Slams.
I'm not talking about the smaller tournaments. I'm talking about the bigger tournaments.
What was the tournament that she pulled out of the final of and then she went on to win the US Open?
That was... I'm not sure.
But that was last year. This is what I mean. It's happened. It does happen in the game. Yep. Players are pulling out of tournaments. It's been happening this year. I know that there's been a weird time, but players have been doing it. And no one's been kicking up a fuss. Barty pulled out of a tournament recently just so she could play the French Open. Should she be crucified for that? No, because people knew she was carrying some sort of injury. Yeah, fair enough. She did retire in the end, and it was a legit injury. But
yeah, it was Cincinnati she pulled out of Osaka.
Well, exactly right. This is the point. This is exactly my point. And she went on to win the tournament, so it worked. This is the exact point. Maybe it'll work for Roger Federer. I'm not so sure.
And Robert, they're saying she received no criticism.
No, exactly. But this is what I mean. Naomi Osaka, she's all in the headlines already. We're not going to go back into Osaka again because we did that justice in the last one and don't want to give her too much more limelight and a focal point of the conversation. This one just more about Federer. I think he's still going to struggle more than he has done at Wimbledon. It's just gives himself a little bit of an extra chance. I don't think it's going to be enough probably, but there's more of a chance, and that's all everybody wants. They want to see one last hurrah, even if it's a final, a semi-final. Can he do it? And people want to see it. And mate, we're going to want to see it as well, because if it's in London, who knows, mate? We might be able to go and see it. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, just reading the last part. The Roland Garros tournament is sorry about the withdrawal of Roger Federer, who put on an incredible fight last night. We were all delighted to see Roger back in Paris, where he played 3 high-level matches. We wish him all the best for the rest of the season. Said Guy Forget, tournament director. Is that his name? Guy Forget?
But easy to forget that name.
Is that real? The tournament director is called Guy Forget. Surely not.
Was that they forgot his name and then they just put that in? I don't know.
I did not know that. His name's Guy Forget. Bloody hell.
It's not an easy name to forget, which is a good...
Well, you'll never forget it, to be fair. You'll always remember his name's Guy Forget.
I like it, mate. Mate, quick announcement. Medvedev has just beaten Garin in straight sets.
Incredible.
Well, mate, this is somebody who thought everyone thought might pull out of this tournament. Nope. He's going through to face Tsitsipas. That's going to be an interesting matchup, isn't it? Quarterfinals. What do you reckon on that?
Well, let's see how it goes on. But I think we'll just stick to this one right now because, I'm still a bit shell-shocked by it all, as you can all see. Really sad. Hopefully we see him in Wimbledon. He's not going to pull out of that one, no doubt about it. Probably the best thing for him to have done here would have been not to have entered it. I thought it was a bit of a strange choice anyway. I thought maybe the best thing for me, and I said this after he returned to the clay court swing for that one match. Was it against Cuevas when he lost?
No,
I think the most... Andahar, sorry. Was the most sensible thing he could have done was just skipped it altogether and played a warm-up event on the grass and then done Wimbledon.
But they've removed it, and these normal ones, Haller. I don't think they're even running the tournament.
Is there no event before Wimbledon? No grass courts at all?
Maybe Queens, I think, but he never plays Queens. He normally does
but he
Haller.
should. That's what I'm saying. That's what I would have done. Just regardless of whatever tournament it was, any grass court tournament before, I'm sure he'll be able to get a wild card in, and he doesn't even need one. He's quite highly ranked if he'd have entered it in time. Enter one of them and play Wimbledon. I think he should have skipped up the French Open and the whole clay court stuff altogether. As John said, Queens. I think that would have been the wisest thing to do. I don't think he should have gone into this tournament because it is a tad disrespectful getting to this stage and pulling out. And that's my opinion. And I'd share that with every player. That's not just him.
Well, we've got our contrasting opinions. Let us know what your opinions on this matter are in the comment section below if you are listening to this on repeat. Thanks to everyone who's joined us in the live chat as well. I think we've done it to death a little bit. We're both very sad. Is the real?
Yeah, that's one thing we definitely agree on. That is sad. I wanted to see him. I wanted to see Berrettini, Federer. I thought Berrettini was going to beat him, just like everyone. And it sounds like Federer as well himself. I think he believed that Federer was going to beat him, and that's why he didn't play.
Yeah, I mean, well, it is what it is. We've given our 2 cents. You give us yours, and we'll see you for Serena versus Rybakina. That's coming up in about 20 minutes. Yeah, awesome. Thanks to everyone, guys. Like the video if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you for Serena very, very soon. See you in a sec.